hope you guys are enjoying your Friday. And as always, thank you for joining me this Friday. Thanks for being here. Today is, of course, the Friday Q&A segment. You guys blew up my inbox this week. I have already at least like 13, 14 questions just to get to, so we're not going to waste too much time and just start diving into those. First things first, no new patrons this week. If you want to support this channel, Patreon is the best way to do it. Patreon.com//ComicsGuide101. And of course, next Friday, I will be doing the first giveaway. So somebody next week on my Patreon sub is going to be winning something. So that's cool with that. Hey, Nick. Hey, A3N. How are you guys doing out there? Hope everybody's doing out there. Wow. Hope everybody's doing well out there. It's a Friday night, as I've already mentioned, and I am exhausted. It's been a tough week. It's been a work week. Fortunately, we didn't get hit with the storms over here in Central Florida, so we didn't get it too bad. With that said, of course, let's just dive right in. We've got a few questions on Facebook.
Central Florida.
Wow, there's that. So let's see. From Johnny Boy 747, what are your favorite DC Rebirth titles and your thoughts on the deluxe hardcover line for Rebirth? I think for the most part, the Rebirth hardcover line has been pretty good. I believe there were some issues with matching spines, but DC's always had a problem with that. I think the strongest stuff that they've put out so far has been the Flash, obviously. I really dig the Flash. The Super Sun stuff, which that does qualify as the Rebirth stuff. A lot of people love Tom King's Batman. I am just lukewarm on Tom King's Batman. It has highs and lows for me. I think when the story of Tom King is done, Tom King will be a writer that he's better suited for like the 12, 10-issue format as opposed to the long game. Some writers are just better at that. Some writers, they write a better story if they know, okay, I've got 12 issues, I got to condense everything, versus the 100-issue epic that Tom King wants to write where it's stretched out a lot of stuff. I just think some writers are a lot better that way, and I think he's one of them. And I think we're kind of seeing that right now. Hey, Comic Addiction. Thanks for joining me, man. First time. Wow. Thank you for being here. Thank you, everybody. But yeah, those are my choices for probably the strongest Rebirth titles that I've read. I actually, you know what? I'm not the biggest fan of her writing. I don't like her writing at all. But a lot of people really dig the Kelly Sue DeConnick Aquaman. You know, a lot of people dig it. I haven't read it, so I can't pass judgment on it. I don't like Kelly Sue's writing. It's just not for me. But a lot of people are saying it's really good. You might want to check that out. Of course, not on my recommendation, but on other people's. Steph Van Hees, do you prefer manga or anime as a medium, and why? I prefer manga. The reason why I prefer manga is simply because I like that black and white style. I love manga. Don't get me wrong, I like anime, but there's something about just manga in general and the creative process and how manga takes just a week per chapter. Those guys grind, man, and I respect that a lot. Not that I don't respect anime guys, but when you think about it, a manga team is not that big, and they have to grind out chapters every single week. It is tough, man. It is really tough, and I respect the hell out of those guys for that. What are some of your favorite books, excluding comics and manga? Oh, man, I love Blood Meridian. If you have never read Blood Meridian, it's by Cormac McCarthy, who he did The Road. It's dense, really dense. It's not an easy read, but fuck me, is Blood Meridian an incredible read. It's so, so good. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, of course, that's classic. Let me think. What else? C. Robert Cargill's Dreams and Shadows is a great read. So C. Robert Cargill, he went on to do the script for Doctor Strange. He wrote Sinister. Dreams and Shadows is a really good, not all ages, but like a PG-13 horror story. It's really fun. It involves djinns and it involves different mythologies, and I always recommend you guys check that out. The sequel is Queen of the Dark Things, and I'm still waiting for that third book, man. I hope you put it out pretty soon because I'm dying here. But yeah, so far, I would probably rank those up there. Then, of course, there's the classics like Stephen King's The Stand, which I've never read, but I'm always dying to get to. There are certain books that I really want to get to, but I just have not gotten the chance to. Brandon Robinson is a writer that I've been loving his stuff lately. I've been reading, I can't remember the name of it. His newest epic, his the world building epic that he's doing right now, and for some reason I just can't. Hold on, where is my Kindle app? I just can't remember the name of it. Brandon Sanderson got really famous after having to finish the Wheel of Time series. The Way of the Kings, yeah. His new stuff is The Way of the Kings, The Stormlight Chronicles. That is good stuff, man. If you're looking for epic fantasy, not necessarily on the violent level of George R.R. Martin's Game of Thrones, but in terms of the scale and world building and just, I think he's a better writer. Brandon Sanderson, man, you cannot go wrong with his books right now. He is crushing it. It's all good stuff from him. I'm really, really recommending that you guys check that out, man. Really am. His what else am I reading? I've got like 4 different things right now that I keep bouncing between prose books a lot. That's kind of why I like comics, simply because comics are just okay. Bam, 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 bam. Okay, I read 5 issues. I'm done with this. Versus a prose book where that is a time commitment. So right now, let's see. I'm looking through my Kindle list. I've finished The Sea Dreams, It Is the Sky, which is a really good cosmic horror story. I recommend that. Halfway through the second Game of Thrones book because I'm rereading that. But that's about it as far as like prose novels that I'm going through right now. If I were to recommend anything today, though, I would have to say you guys need to check out The Way of Kings. If you're not gun shy about a huge epic, each one of the books is like 1,000 pages long. And he's got, I think, mapped out 8 books that he wants to do, with the first 4 being kind of a prequel, and the other 4, of course, I could be wrong about this, being kind of the sequel set in the future of what happens in the first 4. But right off the bat, Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson, that moves. It moves really fast, and it just pulls you in. It really pulls you in. Any love for the Expanse books? I gotta be honest, I've never read the Expanse books. I have never read those. Ryan Sace, actually, shout out to him. He was the one that actually got me really hooked on reading like these huge epics. He was like, dude, you got to read Wheel of Time. And I started to read Wheel of Time, and I was just intimidated because I think Wheel of Time is like 14 books, and they're thick books. And I've been wanting to read them, but I just don't have the time. So he told me Brandon Sanderson was the guy who he was able to finish Wheel of Time because the original author, he ended up passing away. So I looked up Brandon Sanderson stuff, and I'm like, oh, cool. He's got his own universe that he's building right now, and like it's getting very, very reviews. Let me jump into this. And I am now, let me see, I started it about a month ago, and you got to understand, with my time, with my schedule, it's insane for me to put this much time into it. I'm about 700 pages into the book, and I can't put this down. Once I start, I fly through like a good 50, 100 pages easily in an afternoon. It's so good. It's just I don't have more time to dedicate to it, and it's a damn shame. Do you read in complete silence, or do you need ambient noise like putting a TV show on in the background? I can't. I have to have silence. I'm way too ADD for that type of stuff. Like I have ADD, and I can't. I cannot. I won't be able to focus if I have music or if I have a podcast or something in the background. I'm trying to read something. My attention span just does not hold to it. When it comes to Comixology, do you actually buy the books, or do you use the Comixology Unlimited subscription? I personally find it more satisfying to actually buy the comics I really want and then see them all in my digital library. Is that weird? Not at all. I buy them. I buy my comics on Comixology. I prefer it that way. With unlimited, it's unlimited. It's good for what it is, but you're not getting like, sometimes you won't get full runs for things like that, and then you're like reading 3 volumes, and it's like, oh, volume 4 is on Comixology Unlimited, so I kind of have to go and buy that now. So I'm just like, I'd rather just get it out of the way and buy it right off the bat. Kevin Vo, I heard from the other Q&A videos that you work at a school. I'm curious, what subject do you teach? I work with special needs kids, man. That's my bag, yeah. I work with kids that they are low, I guess you would call it low functioning, kids that need a little bit more work, specifically kids with autism. That's kind of my specialty area. So let's see. I'm currently studying to become a teacher myself. Other than that, I love your videos, and you actually got me into reading Uncanny X-Force. Hellboy, Why the Last Man and More. Keep it up. Awesome. Let's kind of jump back. Hey, Amen Killer. How's it going, pal? More stuff. What format do you collect in, and when do you stop upgrading? Like floppy, Trades, hardcovers, and Omni. Oh, you're in the chat right now. A3N. I'm digital, man. I'm for the most part exclusively digital. But I get books from In Stock Trade sometimes to review and things like that, and I will review them. They're a great sponsor and a great company. I love them, and they're the sponsor of the Omni Bros podcast, which I do weekly with a lot of those guys. And but for the most part, I'm digital. It's just easier slice of life for me. I've talked about it 1,000 times on here. Who by Septimus 77? Who is your favorite underappreciated Batman villain? I'm torn between Calendar Man and Mad Hatter. Okay, so like 10 minutes ago, I was really knocking Tom King, but Kite Man, like he really turns Kite Man around, and I'm like, all right, Kite Man, fuck yeah. There's something about how crazy the concept even is of Kite Man that I love about the guy, and how he's just a low-level thug. And during War of Jokes and Riddles, how he has a much bigger role to play than you would actually think. So that kind of made me a Kite Man fan for life. So I'm a big fan of him. Derek Chua, do you think Avatar Press would ever release Omnibuy, like their not so well known Gravel, for their more popular books like Morse Providence, Crossed, or Gillen's Uber? Even box sets for these are very limited in availability. Which do you think is better, Crossed or Uber? I have not read Crossed. I read the first few volumes of Uber, and I dug what I read about Uber, so I can't give you my 2 cents on Crossed, unfortunately. But here's my 2 cents on the Avatar Press. I don't necessarily think that they will, simply because you got to understand, like, resubmitting these things, even putting them out in a limited run, that's an expense that maybe a smaller publisher like Avatar Press doesn't want to do. Smaller publishers, when they reprint stuff and put stuff out, that's a gamble that they're taking, especially if maybe the trades didn't sell that well or the first collected editions didn't sell that well. So you kind of have to take the concept of, you kind of have to understand that as a publisher, they are taking a risk every single time they put something out. That it could just sit there on the shelves. Marvel has put out omnibuses that have landed like a wet fart, but 9 times out of 10, we knew they weren't going to be good. So we're just going, why did you even publish that? Doesn't make any sense because we know they're not going to sell. So it doesn't, sometimes it just doesn't make any sense. A3N, you have a heart of gold. Don't let them take it from you. Good stuff. XDC on, where do I start with Daredevil? Frank Miller. I always tell everybody the same thing. There's 2 choices to start with Daredevil. You can start with Frank Miller's Born Again or Man Without Fear. They are both great reads. You don't necessarily need to know a lot of the background in regards to like what the story is and who the character is. You can start pick those up. Pick those trades up. Pick the trades up for, and in fact, I have an old video of this for Daredevil from like years ago, and it really hasn't changed that much. But yeah, you want to start with Frank Miller's Born Again and Man Without Fear. 2 must-have Daredevil comics. You absolutely must have to have them. They're brilliant works, and they are Frank Miller at the top of his game. And they really reinvented what Daredevil would become. After that, if you enjoy that and you want to read something else, the Kevin Smith stuff, I will admit that I've read a little bit of it. Not really my cup of tea, so I'm going to recommend you jump from there to Brian Michael Bendis' run, which redefined the character for the 2000s and was badass. Alex Maleev does the art on it, and Brian Michael Bendis writes it, and this was Bendis at the top of his game when he was writing like a whole bunch of crime comics. He was writing Jessica Jones, he was writing Powers, he had a whole bunch of stuff out at the time, and he was really hungry. So I recommend you start with that, and once you finish the Bendis stuff, you jump right into Brubaker, because Brubaker literally picks up the pieces where Bendis left off, like the next few issues. Brubaker is personally my favorite Daredevil writer. I love his incarnation of the character, and just ridiculously good. Just so good. After that, there was Shadowland. You can skip Shadowland. It's a dumpster fire. You don't want to read Shadowland. It's absolutely terrible. And you can jump right into the Mark Waid stuff. And Mark Waid does a kick-ass job of it. And I have not been reading too much of the new stuff, but I heard Chip Zdarsky's run actually is not too bad. I heard Charles Soule's run was a bit of a mixed bag, but I'm pretty sure you can jump into the Zdarsky stuff and you'll be pretty good. And yeah, I mean, I think I've just given you like a whole slew, about a year's worth, a year and a half worth of Daredevil comics that you can pick up and read. Have you read The Nobody from Jeff Lemire? And if you read it, what did you think about it? I have it. I have The Nobody trade paperback here, and I still have not sat down and read it. I know it's about like a man turning invisible or the Invisible Man or something like that. I just haven't read it. I have it. I can't believe I even still have the physical copy of that. I've purged a lot of my physical stuff. Why did you switch over to digital? I answer this question almost every week. Simply convenience, just to kind of get through this question really quick. It's basically just out of convenience. It's easier, less space, and really you can get some kick-ass sales on digital comics through Comixology and like a bunch of other places. So, Demon Souls reference. Oh, wow. Yeah. From you. Oh, man. What was that? You have a heart of soul. Don't let that is a Demon Souls reference. Holy shit! Yeah, that's old though, dude. I haven't played Demon Souls since it first came out. My lord. Yeah, I'm a huge Souls fan. I've beaten every single one of the Souls game and Bloodborne, and the only one that I have not beaten was Sekiro that came out this past year. Like out of these kind of Soulsborne family, if you want to include Sekiro, I didn't beat Sekiro. Simply, I got stuck at the last boss, and I stopped having fun. And the thing is with the Souls game, like the Dark Souls games and stuff like that, is that you have fun while you're doing it, and they're a challenge, but they're fair. I just stopped having fun about halfway through Sekiro, and I was just like, okay, I'm just playing this to kind of finish it, not a pride at this point. When I got to the last boss, I was like, all right, fuck this. I'm not doing this anymore. It's the only Soulsborne game that I just flat out quit. Every single other one I've beaten. Oh, I have not read House of X4 yet, guys. I'm going to finish reading that today. It's been a crazy week over here because we were prepping for the storm, and then the storm really didn't hit us, but that's what happens. Are the books, Derek Chua, are the books also drawn by Mignola much better than those only written by him in the Mignolaverse? Is it okay to read either the Hellboy series, the Hell on Earth collection, the Plague of Frogs collection, or the Ape Sapiens collections independently, or should they be read in a certain sequence? The main Hellboy title you have to read before Hellboy in Hell. Like that, you have to read that. I have a reading order video from a few years ago that you should check out. Just Google like Hellboy reading order or something like that. And for the most part, that still is relevant. There's, a few things here and there that they've added since then, but for the most part, that's pretty relevant. You can read Ape Sapien, you can read BPRD Plague of Frogs, and you can read all those kind of side story spinoffs perfectly fine, and you'll be okay. The thing is, especially recently, since they just wrapped the forward-moving timeline, I get this question asked a lot. Can you read the last section of BPRD, which if I remember correctly is called The Devil You Know? Can you read that separately? And I would say actually no, you can't. Simply because of the fact that there's a huge thing involving Hellboy and post his death and da-da-da-da that kind of helps wrap up his story. I'm being super vague here because I know a lot of you haven't gotten that far into it. So I would recommend that you read of course, the entire Hellboy line, then you go through the entirety of BPRD after that. Or, just as a basic premise, you can just mix and match and things like that. But that's where I would recommend for a lot of you guys to do that instead. And it's a lot of books. BPRD is not small, man. It is a lot of books to read. I think there were close to almost 200 issues alone, if not more. It's massive. Alec Mitchell, what's your opinion on how Killer Be Killed wrapped up? I loved it. I love how Killer Be Killed wrapped up. I think it's a satisfying conclusion. I dug the concept of like curses and like your family and how the main character's father wasn't necessarily on the up and up and things like that without ruining anything. But Killer Be Killed is one of Brubaker's more stronger recent debuts for me. I still think his best book is Fatale. I love Fatale, and I think for me, that's his best crime / crime book, simply because cosmic horror is my bag. I love cosmic horror. That is just, if you put cosmic horror in just about anything, I will love it. I'm biased like that, which was kind of one of the reasons why I love True Detective. That first season, it dipped its toe in cosmic horror enough where towards the end I was like, okay, if they go full on cosmic horror here at the end of True Detective season 1, I'm good with that. Like, I can accept that because they've nudged in that direction enough where towards the end of the first season of True Detective, where you see Matthew, what was it? One of the characters, like, he's looking up in the sky and you just see like this swirling vortex coming out of his mouth and stuff. And I'm like, all right, so we're going full cosmic horror here. Didn't really happen, and I was kind of disappointed at that. But that's my bag, man. Speaking of Miller, his Wolverine miniseries doesn't get enough love. I agree. And House of X #4 just became one of the best single issues of all time. Well, if you're giving it that much hype, then I definitely have to go check that out. There were a few other questions over here. I try to get the YouTube questions out first, simply because those guys, they mostly catch this after. How do you prefer to buy books? This is by Eddie the Albatross. Nice name. Do you get new series one at a time, or do you bulk buy the entire set to binge it in one run? Also, would you rather buy omnibuses you are slightly interested in reading in case they go out of print? Or would you rather buy complete trade paperback series that you are more interested in reading? My thing is, I used to buy in bulk. I used to get I would hear, wow, Sweet Tooth is incredible. So I would buy the entirety of Sweet Tooth in bulk. But I wasn't paying rent at the time. I was living at my parents' at the time. When I first started doing these videos, I was living with my parents. And now I'm living on my own, paying my own rent, and now you've got more bills, stuff happens in life. So I don't buy in bulk anymore. I can't afford it. So I'll pick up a trade here, or I'll read something digitally here. I'm like, well, this is really good. Maybe I'll check out the next volume. As far as omnibuses go, I don't really buy omnibuses anymore. I'm being honest. So a lot of people are asking me, hey, like, what are your top 10 omnibuses, or can you buy an omnibus collection or any, like, I don't, it's too much money. It's way too much out there for my budget, especially right now where I have like other interests too. It's not that I don't love comics. I absolutely love them. I can't afford to plop down $75 every single week on top of like everything else that I've got going on in my life to buy a new omnibus or to buy all these different hardcovers and trade paperbacks, when, a lot of times I could just go on Comixology and, oh, they're on sale digitally. I'll just pick it up there, So it's easier for me that way. Most of it's convenience. Huba Pesek, what's your opinion on the new Black Label line and its titles? Do you think it can be a worthy successor to Vertigo? Time will tell. Ultimately, that's going to be a thing where time is going to tell. My thing is that Vertigo was such a prestigious line, and it had such a name attached to it. And over the last few years, when Vertigo was still around, it's kind of a damn shame that it's fallen away, and DC Comics is doing nothing with it, and that they've completely wiped it off the slate, and now they're renaming it Black Label. Like, no, come on. Vertigo used to mean something. When Vertigo was run by Karen Berger, it was prestigious. It was top of the line writers, top of the line creators, top of the line books. That's what Vertigo was. You got to consider what came out of Vertigo, man. Swamp Thing, what else? Sandman, Preacher, these are all classics in comics. These are books that any writer or any publishing company would kill to have even one of these, even one. And Vertigo has all these. Scout is another one. And Vertigo has all these different titles under their belt, or they used to, and now they're just doing away with the whole line entirely, and they're just like, yep, we'll call these things Black Label books. And I'm like, what the hell does that even mean? Are they going to be out of continuity stories? Are we still going to get books like Transmet? Are we still going to get books like Preacher, where it's just creator-owned stuff? It's up in the air right now. We really don't know what the state of Black Label is going to be in the next few months. I guess we'll find out more. But if it's just more of the same Batman and like just their main superhero stories, only darker, then, you know, it's a total fucking waste of a line. It really is, and it's a goddamn shame. Let's keep going. I think I had like one or two. Okay, so this is my first time taking part. Okay, so Shay Smithers asked, this is my first time I've taken part in one of your Q&As. Sorry if it's already been asked before, but what are your top favorite manga books of all time and why? I've answered this quite a few times, pal. But, you know, for the sake of time, I'll just answer real quick. 20th Century Boys being number 1, Full Metal Alchemist being number 2, Hunter x Hunter is somewhere in there. Berserk is somewhere in there, and yeah, those are it. Because I've answered this quite a few times. Sorry, man. I'm just going to kind of breeze through it because I've got a few other questions here to get to as well. But I hope I was able to help you out there. I think that's it for the questions here. Yeah, that's it for the YouTube questions. We got one from Parker Lickenbach on Twitter. I asked this on Twitter. I asked this on Monday's Omni Bros and would like to hear your answer too. I read 4 Kids Walk Into a Bank recently. I thought the story was amazing, but the art and design is the real star. What's a comic with an amazing story where you like the art equally or more? Man, New Frontier. New Frontier is my go-to answer. If you want something a little bit more, I guess you would say non-traditional, it would probably be Habibi. Habibi is beautiful. It's a beautifully written story. If you have not read Habibi, I recommend you get out there and read it. Let me think. What else? I know I don't like this man's work. I'll be flat out honest with you, but Chris Ware, a lot of people tend to really get attached to it. I can't stand Chris Ware's work. I think it's kind of boring, but that's not for me. Let me think. I'm trying to think what else. You know, all right. So my pick of the week this week, kind of jumping off of that Twitter question. If there's going to be one book, in fact, I think I'm going to do this from now on. I'm going to give you guys homework. It's going to be my pick of the week, and I'm going to announce it here every Friday. My pick of the week that I recommend you guys go check out is if you are a metalhead, if you love metal like Iron Maiden, if you love bands like Pantera, you know, Ozzy, all that stuff, Black Sabbath and all that stuff, you guys need to go read Murder Falcon. Toot fucking sweet. You really do. You really do. It's over the top. It's fun. You're going to look at the cover and you're going to think, what the hell is this? But it is one of the most beautiful tributes to metal and to the power of music and to the power of metal in just in general, specifically metal, that I have ever read. It's incredibly well done, and at the end of it, just chills. I got chills towards the end of it. It's so beautifully well done, and the cover of it, and you're going to read the description, it's going to throw you off a little bit, and you're going to think, oh, okay, but there is so much heart in Murder Falcon, and we're reviewing this next week on Monday. There is so much heart in Murder Falcon that I'm calling it. Murder Falcon is my book of the year. It is my favorite thing that I've read this year, more so simply because I love metal. I'm a huge metal guy, and it just hit all the right strings for me. And there is a special little cameo at the end of in the last few panels of Murder Falcon that just, boom, just hit me right in my soul, right in my feels, man. Yeah, Murder Falcon. Tim Klein, if you've read Murder Falcon, go into it. You're going to go into Murder Falcon thinking it's about one thing, and you're like, oh, man, it's about this guy, you know, he's using the power of rock and stuff like that to fight all these badass monsters and stuff like that. It's got so much more heart to it than I would have ever thought, and it caught me off guard. Like, don't get me wrong, the stuff that Hickman is doing is brilliant from a concept level and stuff like that. That's great stuff. It's going to make it to my end of the year top 10 list. And I love Absolute Carnage. I'm having a blast with Absolute Carnage. But from a pure emotional standpoint, Murder Falcons just crushed me and hit all the right notes in me. Like I cannot. I loved it. I honestly loved it, from the art to the storytelling. It was my personal. It's my personal book of the year so far, and I don't really see anything topping it. I really don't. Just because it hit me so deep. Like, it hit me right here in the feels. I'm almost getting misty-eyed right now just thinking about the ending and how beautiful it was. Steph Van Hees, if you enjoyed Day Tripper and Punk Rock Jesus, then you should definitely check out. You should definitely be checking out Murder Falcon. Like that should be something that's right up your alley, pal. If you dug that, because it has that same punch in the gut for me that Day Tripper had. Have you Isaiah Jelani? Have you read Batman White Knight? And if you did, what did you think? I have read Batman White Knight, and I dug it. I dug Batman White Knight. I thought Batman White Knight was really good, and it's kind of a really cool Elseworlds tale. I love the different versions. Semi spoiler for like a book that's about a year old. I love the different versions of Harley Quinn that are portrayed in the book. I dug the concept of Batman just going a little bit too far, and even Dick Grayson and all the Robins are like, dude, you are just slowly. You need to tone it down because you're going a bit too far with it. I thought it was fun. It's a fun Elseworlds tale, and really, there's not much else to it. Hey, Eddie, what's up, buddy? How's it going, man? Can't watch for too long? Well, thank you for joining us anyway, pal. Always appreciate it. I wish I could be here live, but I'm watching the Dark Crystal series, so I just came here to say hi. Hi, Vasco. You know what? I've never seen Dark Crystal. I have never seen the original Dark Crystal films, and this Netflix series has me really intrigued to see it. Can I go? I'm gonna put this in the chat. Can I go in watching the Netflix series without having seen the original film? It's one of those things where as a kid, it creeped me the hell out. And I was super afraid to watch it for whatever reason. And I never sat down with it. Now that I'm older, I'm like, I should probably sit down and watch Dark Crystal. I heard the Netflix series is really good, and they captured the essence of what was good about the movie. There's a Comixology sale going on called DC's Finest, Brian Michael Bendis sale. When did Bendis become one of DC's finest? Bendis became one of DC's finest the minute that man went over and started writing Superman, at least according to them. But the guy he's only been at DC Comics for what, like 2 years now? Like, let's pump your brakes, DC, okay? Like, and he's written an okay Superman story from, I haven't read it yet, but from everything that I've heard is that he's been writing an okay-ish Superman story. So, let's slow down right now, okay? FW Porras, I just bought Thanos by Donny Cates trade paperback after hearing your recommendation, and it contains the Cosmic Ghost Rider too. Oh, so good! And man, I loved it. Hope Aaron's King Thor is just as good. Cosmic Ghost Rider is one of those concepts that it's one of those things where you hear about it and you're like, that probably shouldn't work. That sounds like it's a bit too weird and out there, but goddamn, does it work? Donny Cates sells you on Cosmic Ghost Rider, and it's such a fun concept, man. I think I've answered this next one. What is the easiest way to sell off chunks of a collection? I've always been paranoid about selling on eBay from the crazy anal retentive collectors, nitpickers, and eBay siding with sellers. The best bang for your buck and the easiest way, I'm pretty sure I answered this, is going to be eBay, man. You're going to take your risk and you're going to take your chances for it. Doesn't matter where you go, but eBay is probably going to be your best chance at this. I know that there are quite a few. I'm a member in the Omnibus Collectors group. I'm in there. And even in there are some guys where I've sold some things and some guys are like, well, this kind of has a ding in the corner, like a little ding in the corner. And some of those guys are really anal about that stuff. And it's kind of a pain in the ass when you do get somebody that's like that. And they're like, well, because it has a ding in the corner, it's not in perfect condition or something. I'm talking about like a little ding, not even that big of a thing. And they're like, well, it's because it has this, and I want like $10. So you kind of roll the dice with anywhere that you go. The best advice I can give you is take super accurate pictures of like books that you might even think have like maybe like imperfections in them and stuff like that, and then take the gamble. Because if you're selling off your collection, that's probably the best bang for your buck. Or go local. There's Craigslist. There's I know Facebook does like the whole local selling thing. That's also a good place to go. Cosmic Assassin. Have you watched Labyrinth, though? I haven't watched Labyrinth. I'm a huge David Bowie fan, but I have not watched Labyrinth. Wow. I know. Kind of disappointing. I know. I should have watched Labyrinth by now, considering I love David Bowie. Guys, okay. If you have not, so I'm giving you two things this week that I want you guys to check out. Murder Falcon being number one, and if for whatever reason you haven't checked this out, number two, God, I hate this thing. Number two, the new Tool album, Fear Inoculum. Holy shit! Oh my gosh, Fear Inoculum is so good. Oh my gosh, the new Tool is such a good album. 13 years. 13 years waiting for this album to come out. And for me, it was worth it. It's so goddamn good. It's so good, dude. I love Tool. Holy shit. And Maynard's voice, man. Maynard might be a guy where I don't like him personality wise, but Jesus, man, that new album is just so good. It's so great. Cosmic Assassin, man, 0 out of 2, but at least you know your books. At least you know your books. True. Hey, I can't watch everything, man. I'm one guy, and this is a one-man show, and I'm putting out 4 videos a week, so my time is very limited. Like right now, I've got Rambo. I've got the 2008 Rambo, the 4K sitting on there, along with like a whole bunch of other stuff sitting on my bookshelf, because that's where I keep my movies now, just to watch. I'm in the habit now where I'm buying a whole bunch of 4K films, and I just don't have the time to watch them. I'm running out of time. I usually get the time during the weekend, but I'm kind of the purist. So when I watch a 4K film, I like to watch it because I have an OLED. So if you have an OLED, it's got what's called a perfect black. So I like to watch them at night when the sun is down, and I could close the blinds, and I could just kind of kick back and relax. So that's the best environment for me. So I only get usually 1 to 2 movies a week that I could sit down and actually watch all the way through before I have to go to bed, because I work in the next morning. And on the weekends, I usually try to catch up with my sleep because my schedule is so crazy during the weekday. Let's see. Honestly, I enjoyed the new Tool album, but it's so similar to Lateralus. Yeah, I mean, I've heard some people complaining about the new Tool album, and they're saying that yeah, it's good and it was worth the wait, but there are certain similarities to their previous work, and it's not what they expected and things like that. And I get that, especially when you think about it. Especially when you think about it for a project that's been in the works for 13 years. Think about that. 13 years this project has been. There were kids that weren't born that are now going on to high school next year, and they're in 8th grade. So they weren't even born when their first album came out, and now they're going into 8th grade. Think about that. That is how long it's been since a Tool album. It's crazy. It's really, really crazy. I have my problems with the way to distribute it, especially the cost and stuff like that. But that's neither here nor there. I loved it. I love the new album so far. I'm about halfway through it, and I'm probably going to end up actually sitting down tonight and just kind of chilling out and relaxing after this long ass day of work. And I'm going to just relax, and I'm going to listen to it all like in one go. I really think this is an album that you really need to have like a record player or a decent sound system, and you just need to sit down with it and let it just flow through you, and you really, really have to listen to it. I haven't had an album do that to me in a long time. I think probably the last one was, and you guys probably don't remember these guys, was like the Mars Volta, Francis the Mute, like an album like that where it's an experience where I'm sitting down and I am just taking the entire thing in. Yeah, it's probably been something along those lines since like Francis the Mute. It's been years and years and years and years. Current Superman event Leviathan and Action Comics are so bad, I question even continuing the hobby. God damn, is it really that bad? Is the current Superman stuff that bad? I've heard it's not that good. I forgot who it was that told me. I think Riley was the one that told me that it's pretty mediocre, the Bendis Superman stuff, which I'm like, that kind of stinks. I don't know why out of all the characters they decided to maybe he lobbied for it. Bendis for me just when I hear Bendis, I'm like, oh cool, Bendis is doing a Batman book, or Bendis is doing a question book or something like that. I didn't think he'd be doing a Superman book. Like that would have been my last choice if Bendis had come up to me and I was working at DC and go, I want to write I want to write Superman. I would have been like, do you really? Do you really? Let's think about this for a second. Your best stuff is a crime book. You know, you've done Avengers. That's great, Bendis. That's really good. But really, your best stuff is a crime book. And you know, who knows why they decided to go that route. You know, Bendis was a big thing. When Bendis went over to DC Comics a few years ago, it was like on major internet publications, like, wow, Bendis is leaving and going to DC Comics. This is friggin' huge. Because for so long he was a Marvel and an indie guy. You know, for him to make the leap, and then the first character is like, yeah, we're just handing you the chain. We're giving you the golden rings. You can start right off the bat on Superman. You're not working your way up. You're Bendis. I'm like, damn it. You know, I think that was just a bad fit. I don't know. You know, maybe not, maybe so. I haven't read it, so I can't judge it, but I know Riley has. I think he was pretty lukewarm on it, and he wasn't crazy about the story. I used to be excited for Bendis and Superman, but he broke me when he aged John. Did he really? Oh, come on. Did he really do that? It gave him a good dimension. I don't like the super father or teen, which is a better role for Bats. Did he really age John? That's such a lame thing to do. That's so lame, man. I like John as a kid. There's something about that I don't know. That concept of just Superman being a father to like a kid, not a teenager, but a kid. And I always dug that concept. It kind of sucks. And I agree with you. I think the teenage thing is kind of a better role for Batman. Kikwin 4649. Who you got? Khabib or Poirier? Ooh. Go with Khabib. The guy's just nasty. If you've ever if you've ever done jiu-jitsu or wrestling or any form of mixed martial arts or anything like that, some people will say, well, Khabib's just kind of boring to watch because his main thing is his ground game. I urge you guys, go into a jiu-jitsu gym and roll with somebody that is just even half of that skill level of what Khabib does on the ground. His ground game is insane. It's impeccable how good his ground game is. It's fucking nuts. He does this thing, man, where he just wraps your legs and you are just meat on the ground and he is just pounding the hell out of you. And the thing is, he is talking shit to you the whole time that he is whooping your ass on the ground. He's saying, why are you still fighting? Why don't you just give up? If you go watch that Conor McGregor fight, he broke Conor. He friggin' broke Conor McGregor when he fought him. Like Conor, halfway through that fight, Conor was done because that ground game is just so friggin' nasty. It's insane how good of a wrestler Khabib is, and just ridiculous, man. That ground game, it's beautiful. It really it's a sight to behold. Just how good. If you see that level of where you think you're good at martial arts, or you think that somebody is really good at jiu-jitsu or wrestling or anything like that, and then you see a guy like Khabib or Marcelo Garcia, who is an incredible jiu-jitsu practitioner, and you're just like, holy that is the peak. That is another level right there where I just oh my gosh, man. But I got Khabib on that one. The thing is, I think it's gonna be a little bit closer than most people think, because Dustin is no slouch. He is not a bum. He's not some fighter that you can just push around. But it's gonna be a good fight. I'm excited to see that. Wow. Okay, hold on. What's your least favorite? What was my least favorite subject in school? Math. I was terrible at math. Math just never clicked for me. I was horrible. I was just never a good math person. A3, and he broke Connor when Connor told him it's just business. Yeah, and then he's whooping his ass in the corner saying it's just business, right? Like, it's just business? Okay. Like, the thing is, that's Connor's game, is that he trash talks, he hypes up the fight and stuff like that. And Connor took it a bit too far. The thing is, with Khabib, they take that shit real seriously. It's not just business for them. Okay. And Connor went on to insult his religion, his faith and stuff. Like, they take that really seriously. Okay. It's not fun and games for them. Okay. Like, he whooped his ass and he proved it so much. We haven't seen Connor in the ring since that fight. And I don't think he's coming back. Really. I don't think so. And I was a Connor guy. I loved Connor. I loved the trash talking he did. I thought when he was at the top of his game, he was a monster. He had that left hand that would just down guys, and he would be able to. He was Mystic Mac. He was able to call shots, and he would pull them out of his ass, and he'd do it. But golly, man, after that fight, it just wasn't the same. Khabib, he is just like Royce Gracie when Royce Gracie when MMA was starting. No one is prepared for the ground game. That's a good point. Yeah, but Royce was just, oh man, because nobody had done jiu-jitsu at the time. When Royce first came out and he was fighting guys that were like a good 200 pounds of solid muscle bigger than him, and he was tapping them out, everybody was like, what the hell is that? Hey, Thomas Judge. Hey, first time I ever made one of these shows live. Hi. Hey, man. How's it going? Thomas Judge, one of my patrons. Thank you so much, sir. It's always appreciated. Fedor Emelianenko is the greatest mixed martial artist of all time. You know, I was never really a huge fan of him. There was that whole thing where Dana tried to bring him over to the main UFC, but it never happened. I used to watch his fights. I didn't think he was a bad fighter at all. I thought he was really good. There was a question in here. Okay, here we go. Kid Quinn. You think Khabib could take on GSP in his prime? That's a tough question, man. It's really difficult because I'm a huge GSP guy. I love George St. Pierre. And when he was at the top of his game, he was really good. That's really tough. I can't give you a straight answer. I wish I could. I wish I could, man. I can't. Off the top of my head, I really couldn't. I mean, if I were to... The thing is that GSP was also a pretty solid striker. And not saying Khabib isn't a solid striker, but out of the two, I would say GSP in general is more of a well-rounded, solid fighter altogether. Where we haven't seen Khabib's stand-up that much because he really hasn't had to use it. We've seen little glimpses of it here and there. And we do know that GSP, like Khabib, had a bit of a gas tank problem where they get exhausted in the later rounds, especially Khabib. We've seen him kind of like, okay, that gas tank is starting to drain out. So I don't know. I really can't give you a straight answer. But my money, if I had to bet, God, it's so tough. I really can't, honestly. I would probably maybe GSP would inch it out simply because of that stand-up. Dude, bro, Converse. Yeah, it is actually. Did I catch AEW this past weekend? Yes, I did. A little bit of the bubbly. I did. I catched AEW this weekend. I wanted to see that Omega Moxley fight so much, and the Pac Omega fight was okay. It was good. It was a really great match. I dug it overall, but I really wanted to see Moxley go against Kenny Omega. Kind of saw Pac winning that match from the very beginning. I was like, well, Pac is coming in. He's got a lot of heat. Kenny Omega's kind of been on a hot and cold streak lately. I think he's like 2-2 in singles right now, or something like that. And it also kind of sets up the story of Kenny Omega, where Kenny can kind of it works well within the context of the story because they're going with, well, Kenny was training to go against Jon Moxley, and last minute Jon Moxley gets MRSA, so Kenny's not really ready for Pac, and he's underestimating him, so Pac ends up beating him. So that works well within the story. I really want to see Kenny Omega go full heel again because that's my favorite era of Kenny. I love full heel Kenny Omega, and I think that's where they're going to kind of lean into it now. What else? Who else wrestled this weekend? The ladder match. Holy shit, man! The Young Bucks with the Lucha Bros. That was such, man. That was such a damn good. That was such a damn good match, man. The Young Bucks versus the Lucha Bros was great. The Lucha Bros are fast becoming one of my favorite tag team groups. It was a really good match overall, and I was really happy for the Lucha Bros. A3N losing the belt at damn Longhorn Steakhouse has to be a work, right? You know they're selling this. He got the belt. Okay, for those of you that aren't into wrestling, I know there's a good chunk of you that are. Over the past weekend, Chris Jericho. I'm sure you've heard of who Chris Jericho is. He was huge, and he's been one of those consistent wrestlers that he's been able to reinvent himself every single generation. It's crazy. He was the youngest ever AEW champion, and I say that jokingly because he's the first AEW champion. And apparently he went to a Longhorn Steakhouse and he lost the belt over the weekend at the Longhorn Steakhouse. He got drunk. And like this whole week, it's been just Chris Jericho, like, oh, I'm launching a long investigation into the Longhorn, into like who stole my belt. And apparently he already got the belt back and all this whole thing. And it's gone viral and everything. And if it is, they are selling this enough where it's making me question if it's real or not. I can't tell you. I honestly can't, man. I can't tell you, to be honest, man. It's such a mess. But it's so good. It's really so good. Chris Jericho's selling that, man. AEW's got a lot of heat. I'm super excited for what the future holds for AEW, man. The future holds a lot of good things for AEW, and I can't wait. Yeah, I'm loving everything that's going on with AEW right now. My main gripe with AEW right now is simply because I think that their pre-show stuff is just not as strong as the main event stuff, and it's showing. Like they're getting better. They are getting better, but notably the pre-show stuff is kind of weak. When if you want to really pull people in, that pre-show stuff needs to be just as good as the main event stuff, because that's how you pull people in. The free stuff gets more people in. It brings more people in, man. You know? So the fact that I think that their pre-show stuff is a little bit weak is kind of a thing where they need to work on it, and they gotta get that right. They really should. And I think it's kind of disappointing that they haven't been able to do that. Damn shame. Damn shame. Let me go here. Hold on. Let me catch up with some questions. Triple Threat was nuts as well. That spot with the paper cuts between the fingers. Ugh, yeah. And they're talented. They are really talented over there at AEW, man. AEW, yeah, AEW, what I love about AEW is that it reminds me of WCW in a lot of ways, where WCW at the time, they were bringing over a lot of wrestlers from Mexico, and luchador wrestling really took off over here in the States, in part because of WCW. And what you're seeing is AEW is getting a lot of New Japan guys. They're getting a lot of people from overseas and the indie circuits, and they're really highlighting a lot of guys and bringing them over. I think one of their best finds is MJF. MJF is hands down the best fucking heel in the industry right now. Like he just incredibly well talented, and he's only 23. He is only 23 years old, and he is this good. Think about that. Think about how good he's going to be if he keeps going 10 years down the road. Think about that. It's insane how good the guy is. All the props to him. He's such an asshole, but he's so good at it. Let's see. Have you read anything on the Annihilation-like event Marvel's got planned for the end of the year? I haven't read anything about the Annihilation-like event that Marvel has towards the end of the year, mostly because I'm kind of evented out. It's not that I don't like events or anything like that. It's just I'm kind of done with events in general until I hear they're good. And me taking a gamble on Maximum Carnage is simply because of two things. I love Donny Cates' Venom run, and I love Donny Cates. That's the whole reason why I am taking a gamble on this whole thing. That is the whole reason. So I haven't heard anything about it. I mean, your guess is as good as mine. Marvel's kind of been tight-lipped with, to be honest, until you mentioned it just now, I completely forgot that they were even doing an Annihilation-like event towards the end of the year. Just slipped my mind completely. Completely slipped my mind. What is my favorite villain outside of comics? I mentioned this earlier. I mentioned this book earlier, Blood Meridian's The Judge. The Judge is... It's hard to describe what the Judge is and who the Judge is unless you read Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy. And like I said, it's a tough read. It's really dense of a book, and it's kind of hard to get through at times. But the Judge is a son of a bitch. He really is. He's just, oh my gosh. Just pure evil incarnate. Like pure evil. But it's a great read. It's a great read. The Judge would probably be, in terms of outside of comics, will probably be my favorite villain. If we're talking films, I mean, my favorite horror film of all time is Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So no, Leatherface wouldn't really count. That's tough. That's really tough. I like a good sympathetic villain. I like a villain that you really understand. Like, to me, the best villain so far that Marvel has put out and for the MCU is still Black Panther's Killmonger. I really dug his motivation. I understood it. Oh man, yeah. Kind of going back, FW Porus. I'm going back through all the questions. Rhonda's judo before some idiot hypnotized her and thinking that was her coach. That was her coach, man. Her coach was I don't know what they were thinking at the time with Ronda Rousey. She's not a boxer. She's never been a boxer. She's not going to be a boxer. Period. She's not. Ronda Rousey will never be a boxer. Okay? She has a very limited set of skills. Granted, she does them incredibly well. You know, she's judo. Like that is what she is. She is a judo practitioner, and that's what they should have focused on. The minute she got punched in the face, it was all over. Best movie villain is surely the antagonist in Old Boy. I'm pretty sure that's Matt. Is that Matt Miranda? Are you doubling Thomas Judge? Because Matt Miranda has been saying I need to watch Old Boy for like the past year and a half. That dude is like, no, you got to watch Old Boy. I've pre-ordered the 4K of Old Boy. It's only coming out in the UK, and Matt Miranda hit me up, and he said, you got to watch Old Boy. Here's the UK version. I'm importing it from, I think it's like from News. I don't even know, but I have to import the 4K that's coming out soon. It comes out in like a few months, and it's gonna end up costing me like $40 to do it. So I'm like, okay. So I hope it's good. I hope Old Boy is worth it. Is Black Hammer worth the hype? November solicits have a $1 72-page comic with 3 Black Hammer #1s, but the library editions look great. I've reviewed Black Hammer. Yes, 100%. Black Hammer's fantastic. It's everything. If you like Hellboy and if you like kind of the expanded mythos stuff, it's fantastic. Yes, you absolutely should be reading Black Hammer. Buy the first trade. And I guarantee you'll be hooked on it. It's really good. DeVito, do you enjoy novels a lot? I do. I just don't have time. I don't have the time, man, to read as many novels as I used to. But once I get sunk in, once I try to make it a priority to at least read 3 or 4 like long form novels a year. Thus far, I've read 2 this year, so I'm behind by a book, but I'm halfway through. The Stormlight Chronicles, the first book. So I'm actually on target in a way. But I've only got a few months left to finish like 600 pages out of that book. So I try my best to kind of do 2 or 3 long form books a year. Yes, love Killmonger more than Thanos. I did too. I liked him more. All right, guys, my throat is killing me. It's been a long week. I'm gonna give you guys about another 5 minutes, and then I gotta get going. Novels. Dune is awesome. I'm hoping the movie is just even half as good. Denis Villeneuve. He did Blade Runner 2049, which, on paper, a few years ago, somebody telling me, hey, they're doing a sequel to Blade Runner, I would have said, are you out of your mind? A sequel to one of the greatest science fiction films of all time. You want to take a risk on that. And it wasn't even that huge of a blockbuster. It was a cult film at the time. And even today, it's not really a huge blockbuster for a lot of fans. I would have said you're crazy. I would have said you're nuts. But golly, man, he pulled it off. I love Blade Runner 2049, and it's a beautiful 4K disc. Oh, it's just gorgeous. If you get the chance to sit down with it, it's incredibly beautiful looking film, especially on 4K. So I have all the confidence in the world that Denis Villeneuve is going to be able to pull this off. I really do. If there's any director out there that will be able to pull off a Dune film, it's him. And I've talked about this before. If you get a chance, there's a brilliant documentary, Jodorowsky's Dune, that I highly recommend you guys check out if you're even interested in the slightest bit of the novel or what that film would have looked like back in the day, which it would have been batshit insane. It would have been just like a one giant LSD trip for about 3 hours long. It's crazy. How is that? It's a damn shame the new Blade Runner run is only 4 issues from Titan Comics. How is that? Am I excited for The Irishman by Scorsese? Yes, 100%. Yeah, I'm a huge Scorsese guy. Scorsese and mob movies are like, peanut butter and chocolate. They just go together. They really do. And he's getting the gang back together where he's got Danny DeVito. He's got just, not Danny DeVito. You can tell I'm fried right now. I'm so tired. Where he's got basically like the entire cast of Goodfellas back together for this film. I'm super excited about that. He's got Robert De Niro. I'm super excited. Joe Pesci's back in this. I can't wait. I can't wait. There's a problem right now. I know that like they were trying to get it in theaters, but it's not really working out how they thought it was, and we'll see what happens. But I'm a huge Scorsese fan, and I will be definitely checking out The Irishman. Okay, guys, I am super tired. It's just hit the hour mark, so I'm actually going to call this right now because it's been a long week. So what I'm going to ask you guys to do is, if you haven't, and if you've considered helping me out, you can help me out one of a few ways. You can share my videos. You can like, comment, subscribe, or if you even purchase any stuff through Amazon, I would really appreciate it if you use my links. Stuff like that helps. And of course, there's the Patreon, $5 a month, guys. It's really appreciated for the price of a cup of coffee at Starbucks. Jesus, yeah, like a cup of coffee at Starbucks is like $5. You can support this channel. It's always appreciated. Next Friday, in fact, I will be doing a giveaway. So somebody's going to win something awesome next week through my Patreon at the $5 level, and that's always appreciated. So if you're a Patreon subscriber, you get enrolled in that. So I'm wishing you guys a happy Friday, guys. If you are out there, you're going out drinking tonight, or you're going out partying tonight, or anything like that, please, 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 as always, guys, take an Uber, take a Lyft, or have somebody that's not drinking drive you home or anything like that. Please be safe, guys. I've lost a lot of friends that way, and I always hate hearing stories about that stuff. And, of course, as always, buy your books with cash. I love you guys. I love you. Be on the lookout next week for any other videos that I've got coming out. But, yeah, love you. And I'm wishing you guys the best of this weekend. I will have a new video up same time, Monday morning, 8 o'clock. Bye. Bye, 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 bye.